So what kind of relief will the president's mortgage plan provide? Joining me by Skype. Okay, from St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Good to see you. It's real estate broker John Adams. John, as always, thanks for spending time with us. Want to run through some, yeah, it's good to talk to you. Want to run through some pretty stark facts here, and then a question to you. Almost 14% of borrowers in America are behind on at least one mortgage payment, or they're in foreclosure, right? And here's an even scarier number. 24% of homes with mortgages in the United States have negative equity. You know, that means homeowners owe more than the home is actually worth. So look here, John, what's weighing down the housing sector? Why has it been so difficult to stabilize this sector?
Well, we've had a double whammy. Not only have we seen property values declining dramatically, particularly in some parts of the country, but then we've gone into a prolonged period of unemployment. So you've got people like that last person who is doing everything they can, but there's just not enough money to pay the bills. The president's initiative announced today is directed at both of those people. One is somebody who is upside down in their mortgage. The other is somebody who's unemployed and simply needs a break. But the real news here, Tony, is that for the first time ever, the second part of this program, the one directed at the upside down homeowner, is going to reduce the mortgage balance significantly. And this is something policymakers have really resisted for some time.
Well, John, talk about that for a second. You're right, policymakers have resisted it. I want to get to ultimately why that is the case, but we have heard economists and folks like you who work in this industry telling us for at least a year that something ultimately needed to be done to work on the principle, not just on the rate, but the principle. Why has it taken us so long to get here? And I agree with you, this sounds like really good news.
Well, it's because the administration has been trying to walk a very fine line. On one side, you've got activists and lawmakers who say you're not doing enough. On the other side, you've got bankers and loan servicers who are saying, wait a minute, we entered into a contract with these people knowingly, and now you want us to just unilaterally cut the balance. If you start cutting mortgage balances too much and make it too easy, then everybody's going to line up and say, well, I want mine cut. On the other hand, if you don't do enough, then people will literally start to walk away from their houses. And the administration has been walking that fine line. I think they finally come to the conclusion they've got to get these balances down. The big carrot at the end of the stick here is that if the lender will voluntarily go through this procedure, lower the mortgage balance to no more than 96% of the current appraised value, not then, but now, then they'll insure that loan as an FHA loan, which guarantees that even if the borrower defaults, the lender's going to get paid.
I think that is a great explanation of this, because we're at a place now, John, and speak to this, where defaulting on your mortgage is now, in some quarters, a rational business decision for people, isn't it? I mean, and then if you would, talk about the consequences of simply walking away.
Well, it's unfortunate but true that in many cases you may be better off, and I stress may be better off literally going through the foreclosure process and trying to get the lender to release you from remaining liability. Now, we've got a problem here, and it's called a deficiency. Sometimes when you give the house back to the lender, if they sell it and they sell it for less than is owed, which is, as you pointed out, the case in right now, 11 million homeowners supposedly are upside down in their mortgages. The lender in many states has the right to come after that borrower later, years later, for what's called the deficiency, and seek a judgment against them. Now, some states, for example, California, you simply can't do that. The prevailing idea was that, look, lender, you took the house as collateral, that's it. You got the house back. But in many other states, including Georgia, they do allow for deficiency judgments. And unless you go bankrupt against that, it can follow you for years.
Well, I tell you what, it got a touch in the weeds there at the end, but you make some really, really strong points here. And this idea of doing something about the principle, it's an idea whose time has certainly come. John, good to see you. Have a great weekend, sir. You're in a great spot of the country, so have a great weekend. Let's get you caught up on our top stories now. It could be hours before a section of interstate